Some they call it functional alcoholism, but if you know anything about Ben, he's got vision with precision, microphones and a tinkle of derision. You're about to hear what beer can be. It's time for Barley and Me.
Welcome to Barley and Me. I'm your host, Ben Rice. This is episode 138. We're here today in our own homes, because this podcast is usually done on site, but for the last 10 months it has not. We're here today with Common Space Brewing down in Los Angeles. It's Josie Becker.
Hello.
Welcome back on the show, Josie. And our special guest today, comedian and the host of the Hold Up podcast, it's Molly Sanchez.
Yay! Hi! Thank you for having me. What a treat.
Oh, I'm so excited. I think it was like 2 years ago. I was trying to get a last-second guest, and your name came up a million times as somebody I should probably reach out to do this. And then you're like, I don't even live there anymore, so...
Well, not since 2 years has gone by, yeah. But yes, I'm so excited to be on this podcast because I love beer still. Even more so, maybe, than I did 2 years ago. And I have to say, Josie, this Common Space beer is so good. I'm not just saying that to butter your biscuit. I wouldn't say anything if it was bad, but wow, I'm drinking the Yaysayer IPA, and it's so piney, and oh, it's really yummy. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, I mean, my pleasure to get it in your hand. Feel free to butter my biscuit anytime. Absolute treat. But yeah, no, I would say especially like these past few batches of the Yaysayer, we've really locked in on some fun things. I think also sent some Hammock Street your way, which is a nice chill lager to enjoy. It's a good day drinker. So, yeah, I'm really proud of what we're pushing out right now.
And I'm sorry, I don't know this about you. What's your role in Common Space?
Sure. So, I guess my title is assistant brewer. I guess in the most technical sense, I made that.
Good job. Thank you so much. It's so nice.
Yeah. I started Common Space. I mean, when I first met Ben up in CCBA, I was only like 6 months in the industry. I was a little zygote. I brewed before, but never really done anything professional, and 3 years later, I'm making it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think
congratulations.
I think when we met, you had just brewed Josie's Brown for the first time, if I recall. Mm-hmm. They finally let you put a beer in.
Oh my god, yeah, we had brewed Josie's Wit.
There we go.
So it's a Belgian white beer, wheat and blood orange and coriander.
Yum.
And it won gold at the California State Fair that year. And then silver the year after. So that was my first ever commercial recipe. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just put some things into a spreadsheet. But it worked out.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we canned it for the first time this year. It's got a cool art based on my tattoo. So yeah, I don't know. It's fun.
I love this.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
That's awesome. And Josie, can you tell us a little bit more about Common Space as a brewery? What it's like in there, before times or during times? Either way is fine as a descriptor.
Sure. So I mean, I was the first person hired at Common Space.
Oh.
I was friends with the CEO before we got launched, so it was sort of hey, you don't have any experience, but I'm gonna get in the beer industry and it'll be great. I was a sports writer before that, and I don't know if you've noticed, but newspapers are dying. So I was, staying employed was getting harder and harder, and I was I'll switch. I'll figure out how beer works.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to be a part of finding the space and choosing a name, and we ended up with this space in Hawthorne that is 4 blocks away from SpaceX. So finding a name that could reference space without being launching the space shuttle brewery. You know, like it's something that's a little more subtle about it was important to us. But yeah, the concept of Common Space, like our logo is a Venn diagram, right? Like this idea that this is a place for everyone, that no one should be turned away from Common Space. Things have gone insane, but we've stayed true to that ethos. You know, we launched a beer this summer called Take Action, that like had Black Lives Matter written on the can, and had like this afro chick raising a fist, and we donated proceeds to Black Lives Matter LA. And we're looking right now actually for doing our next round of it, like other local charities that we can do those proceeds to, and just kind of keep it being a thing that is constantly raising money for charity. We did a beer recently called 25 equals 100. That was for the LA Food Bank. And donated proceeds from that towards that cause. So having that ethos of good beer gives back is really what drives us. And I think what separates us, and that's been reflected in the diversity in our hiring and in the tap room. And before everything became a giant nightmare, we have a beer garden, and we would have lively weekends and lively evenings, and that was really what, as much as my job has something to do with that side of the business, like hearing that full tap room and hearing that conversation and that warmth. God, I miss it. So.
Has nothing to do with that side of the business. It wouldn't exist. They're not drinking water, Josie.
Okay, fine. So I facilitate that side of the business.
Come on.
I end my day, and then that part of the business starts, and I get to kind of bask in it. Just go, wow, look, everyone's drinking my beer, and they're happy, and talking and being wonderful humans. So it's all good stuff.
I have a question for the room. This is a morbid thing I thought of when I was hanging out by myself today. Okay. Here's the proposition.
I'm ready.
If the offer is, what if tomorrow it's safe and good to go back to bars and be near each other and talk close to your friends? In exchange for that, would you give 5 years of your life? Would you chop 5 years right off your life expectancy to go back to bars immediately tomorrow? I'm not talking about and nobody gets sick. Everybody's good. We can kiss strangers. We can take sips of each other's beers tomorrow and completely gone. Would you take 5 years off your total life expectancy?
Are they my good years? Are we talking
They're at the end.
They're the tail end.
They're at the end. So if you were going to live to 85, you now only live to 75.
Wait, hold on. No, how did this suddenly become 10 years?
Or pardon me, that's bad math. If you were going to live to 85, you only live to 80.
I just feel like this is a total monkey's paw situation.
It is.
Like, I say yes, and then it's like, well, at 81, that's the actual love of your life, bitch. And you're like, oh no! It's like an old cute romance.
I know. It's a tough one, and I don't know. I'm waffling.
Yeah, it's like
because I am a little worried of speaking something to existence.
Yeah.
But then also, I miss bars so badly.
Man, I kind of don't.
As monkey paws go, monkey paws. I don't know where to put the thing on this one. But as monkey paws go, that's not going to happen. So I'm not really worried about speaking this into existence. Tomorrow's still going to be shit.
Then what's the answer?
The answer is yes, absolutely. This world sucks. And I want to go back to the good one.
Ben?
So what you're proposing is that we make America great again, is what I'm hearing. No.
No,
we're done with that. We're not doing that anymore. We're saying make America bars again.
Make America drunk again.
And who knows? Honestly, here's my pitch, y'all. Let's just say that there was a bar where you were allowed to yell your opinion really loud, get really drunk, and cry and play Lynyrd Skynyrd on the jukebox. If all that was true, do you think any of these losers who were at the Capitol yesterday would have gone there instead? I kind of do. I think if you let shitty men have a place to congregate that's not the steps of the U.S. Capitol, maybe things would be better. So I'm just saying, potentially that could have happened if... So, Ben, what are you saying?
Oh, I'm saying
live 5 years less, go to a bar tomorrow?
Well, since we've already brought up the monkey's paw, I'm pretty sure what happened to me is I'd go out, I'd get drunk, and then I'd like slip on the sidewalk and fracture my spine, and then live to like 98, unable to move, and like drinking out of straws. I feel like that's what would happen to me because I do not have good luck.
That's a good point. But you'd still live 5 years shorter in agony.
But they're like, but also we were going to add 20 years to what we thought
beer on your lips.
We're like, yeah, but we're going to add 20 years of misery and then take away 5. It's just, I feel like the trade-off will be bad because I don't.
So you're saying no. You're saying no. I'm
saying no. Also because 5 years seems like a lot when maybe we'll be like 80% there in like 2 years. I'm like, if it was like, hey, you lose 2 years of your life, I'm like, great, let's do it. 5 seems a bit steep, Molly.
I'm with you, Josie. I'd do it. Heartbeat.
That's fine.
Heartbeat.
That's fine.
I also really like that idea you just threw out. Because I feel, with regards to like if there was a shitty bar that these assholes could have hung out at instead of going across the country.
Yeah.
Because it does feel like right now there's like 5 things you can do, right?
Wow.
Grocery store. And like everyone's at the grocery store because it's just like, well, I what else am I going to do? I gotta get out of my house. Here I am. You go to Runyon Canyon and like there's a bajillion people hiking because it's like, what else am I gonna do? Yeah, I don't know. I definitely like heard that thrown out that like a lot of like the Black Lives Matter protests this summer, right, were like so well attended because like, well, nothing else we can do. Let's all like pour energy into this. Like, yeah. I don't know. Maybe if we weren't in pandemic times, a bunch of dum-dums would have decided to not break into the Capitol, which is apparently a thing you can do
very easily.
I know. I know. Yeah. They would have instead broken the cigarette machine at the Drunk Eagle or whatever shitty Washington D.C. redneck bar. And they'd have been like, you know what I hate? I hate Joe Biden. And everybody be like, yeah, I also hate Joe Biden. Go on another round. And then by the end of the night, they'd be like, take a load off, Annie. I should call Annie. That's my proposal.
Work itself out.
I mean, yeah, that's
certainly. But also, our country is deeply racist. Yeah. I know all of the real things about this argument. I'm just choosing to have a fool around time just now.
We just have a little fool around.
Yeah, I was like, for a second, they're like, what do we do to a bar where everybody can yell anything with no repercussions, and they're also like intermingling? And I'm like, oh, that'd be weird to have no repercussions. It's like, yeah, racists can just be racist, and you can't slap them in the mouth. That would be terrible.
No, that wouldn't be good. I don't want that. But it is wonky though because we talked a little bit before, but I moved to LA from San Francisco during the pandemic, and part of me still feels like an astronaut on a different planet just because I only really know my block. I don't know what my bar would be.
Oh no.
I don't know. And beyond that, like I don't know who my theater friends would be. Like I feel so disconnected from where I am because I am just in the little space station of my house and it's really hindering me feeling like I live here. Because I don't know those things, which is why I was so happy to get this Common Space beer because it's like, oh, maybe this is my beer, and so far so good.
On down to Common Space.
Mm-hmm.
So you moved to LA during the pandemic?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's wild.
Yeah, it really was. It really was, but I really like the place that I landed, and I'm happy to be here. I just don't know what it means to be here yet, I guess. So figuring it out, but that's why I would give 5 years of my life to just go to a bar and meet people.
Yeah, that seems like a good incentive, actually. Because, I also just moved, and I'm like, I don't know my neighbors. Like, my neighbors, like I bought a house, brag, and the neighbors, like,
that's wonderful.
saw the letter that I wrote.
Don't say that sarcastically. That's wonderful.
But the neighbors all saw this letter I wrote to be like, hey, please consider me for buying this house. And so they know me, and I don't know my neighbors because, like, how do you meet them? You know, yelling at them across the way. It's tough. And to the point that I've been here for like 3 months. I've forgotten their names. I'm like, I know it. It's gone now. I don't know the names because I don't see them. And it's just so I get where you're coming from. I have the fortune of like being in the same general area that I've lived for the last 2 decades. So I'm like, I know where I can go once this is done, but I'd like to know like more close things. And that sucks. And I hope you do find a cool little pocket you love and adore.
Thank you.
Ben, do you have a dog?
I have a cat.
Okay, so you need to get a dog. If you get a dog, then you'll get to know your neighbors. It's a 1-to-1. I recently moved in with my aunt with my dog because I was in an apartment and she is very vocal and it just wasn't working out. And I'm like, okay, I gotta get to know this neighborhood. I walk Gabby around and there's like all these humans that are just like, oh wow, you have a cool dog. I want to come and pet her. Or like they also have a dog and then like we're co-walking our dogs together and I get and I don't know, like I'm a millennial. Look, I don't want to talk to
You're what?
I you know, this is the thing. So, like, yeah, the idea of, like, going and knocking on my neighbor's door to get a cup of sugar is not something I had in my head. But, like, Gabby has turned me into a type of social human that just goes and, like, yeah, I know my neighbors, and I know, like, oh, that house has, like, the crack smoker. That's not a house to go to. But then, you know, you just, I don't know, you learn your neighborhood that way.
Yeah. I
don't know.
that.
It's so different when you're a kid, right? You're a kid, you just walk outside and there's like other kids playing stickball in the street and you're like, oh, okay, I guess we were all about the same age. I guess this is how we decide who our friend group is.
Yeah.
Then you're an adult and you're just like, oh, I gotta stay in this little bubble, otherwise like boogeyman.
It's like I found out people are terrible.
Actually, they're nice.
Nah. No, I feel you too. I moved into this apartment that is 2 doors down from my best friend in the world, which is a godsend. Like, it's the best. But I get the sense that people in my apartment complex hang out with each other. I mean, as much as you can. Sure. And I want to be a part of this so bad, but I don't know how to organically do it. And case in point, this is actually a great beer story tying back to this. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, did you just like play the Little Mermaid soundtrack like really loud? Just take the hint, neighbors.
I want to be where the people are. I do feel like that sometimes. But no, I'll tell you an awkward neighbor story that I did to myself. So it was my birthday in July, and my dad brought me a case of Anchor Steam. And I don't like Anchor Steam. I like Anchor Christmas, but I don't like regular Anchor Steam beer. But he's like from San Francisco, like you. Right. So I was just like, I took it up or whatever, and I went to get my mail, and I saw this guy in the lobby with an A's hat. And he was wearing a mask, but this part of his face was very cute. And so I was like, hey, you're from the Bay. I just moved there, blah, blah, blah. So we got to talking a little bit. And I said, oh, my dad just brought me this case of Anchor Steam, but I don't really like Anchor Steam. And he's like, oh, I do. And then we kind of stopped talking. And then the night progressed, and I had drank not Anchor Steam, but just a lot of other stuff. And I was in the elevator again, and I saw him again. I was like, hey, how about some Anchor Steam? You want some of that Anchor Steam? He's like, no, I'm gonna like you tell me what apartment you were in. I'll give you some Anchor Steam. I'll give you some Anchor Steam. Like, I don't know, 206. I'm like, okay, 206. I'll be right back. And so I went and I like drunk, glitter on my face, birthday crown. I was like, this is how it happens for you. And so I got the case of Anchor Steam and I knock on his door and a woman answers. She's like, hi. I was like, he's got a hat with the A's and is Anchor Steam. And he's like, oh, hey, hun, this is the girl I met in the elevator here. And she's like, oh, thank you. It's like clearly his beautiful girlfriend takes this beer from this weird drunken princess. I'm like, okay, bye. And I see him in the elevator every now and then, and I can tell in his face he kind of places me, but kind of doesn't. And every time I'm like, I gotta make some fucking friends. This is awful. But if it had worked, wouldn't that be the smoothest thing?
Oh,
Wouldn't that be the coolest thing?
As meet cutes go, right? Like,
Right.
slurring, like, I think that's like, that launches the whole rom-com right there.
Totally. So,
You guys
yeah.
have a fight, and then you are at the grocery store, and you're both reaching for
Oh,
time.
exactly. Exactly. That would have been beautiful. But it's not to be.
not to be.
I had a sort of similar situation in that. I mean, it's not at all related, except for like the meeting my neighbors part.
Oh.
So I'm walking Gabby, and there's a lady who like is smoking a cigarette out in front of her house, and she just like, as you would imagine an old lady smoking a cigarette outside of her house, like she's kind of hunched over, and she looks like she might die at any moment. But she kind of like waves at me. And I'm just like, oh, hi, like, hey, it's an old lady in my neighborhood. How nice. And like days pass, and she's out there again. And there's this guy who has like this cool border collie, and he's hanging out there. And so I come over, and she gets to pet Gabby, and we're all like bonding. And it's like, oh, cool. Like, I'm getting to know my neighbor. This is great. And then the next time I walk by that house, there is a sign in the window that says "Women for Trump," and I'm just like, "Oh, holy shit!"
Oh.
I have no idea.
Oh, man.
Like, can I still like wave to her? Like, what is the situation? What is the protocol? Do I have to like start mean mugging her? I don't. I finally asked the guy with the border collie, like, "Hey, like, do you know them? Like, what's the situation there?" And he's like, it's a boarding house. And she's like this like old meth head that like died like 8 times and like smoked out of the bong out on like the porch, and her like warden or nurse or whatever person that like takes care of her does it for religious reasons, and like missionary chick that like is all about Trump and everything. So she's the one, like, she got, I don't want to say upset, but definitely was like, oh, a brown girl talking to my old lady. I gotta go make sure
My old
she knows
lady.
what the deal is. And then, like,
Oh, no. Oh, gross.
Cool. So I got like simultaneously like a nice old lady who just wants to smoke her weed on the fucking balcony, and this like nurse Pratchett, whatever that
Ratchet.
that is like trying to tell me to stay away. And I don't know. I just have a dog that is cute. I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this situation. But,
Oh, my gosh.
get to know your neighbors. It's good.
Fine.
Josie, I'm going to ask you a question that I think everybody on this call is thinking.
Sure.
Is Gabby short for something?
So Gabby has several names. So to make a long story even longer, I rescued Gabby about 4 months ago. She is 11 years old. She is asleep, so I'm not going to force her up to the camera.
No. Yeah.
She is like this wire-haired basset, like black and white, with little spots in the white part of her fur, with little floppy ears. And she belonged to a friend of mine's family who like passed away, and like when she went to go and like clean up everything, saw that Gabby wasn't in good shape and didn't want her to go to a shelter, so like reached out to friends to see if anyone could adopt her, and I like stepped up and got her all healthy again. She looks great. Oh yeah, so she's named Gabby because she's a gabber. She's very vocal. In the morning, she's like, all right, it's time for a walk. Like, she has specific barks for that. She has barks for feed me. She has barks for everything. So I started calling her Gabigail Lee. Because, I don't know, it just sounded fun to me. Sometimes, and then I started calling her Gabriella Louise, because it's a lot prettier.
Gabriela.
Gabriella Louise.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's short for a lot of things. Gabigail, Gabriella, Gabster, Gab.
Gabriela.
Just, whatever gets to her attention.
Yeah, are you really a pet owner if you don't have 8 different names for your pet? I don't think you are.
it's just how it works, right? Like, and that's just the names that are offshoots of her name. That doesn't even count the like
nonsense ones.
Mrs. Sweetface, like there's little things like that.
That's so nice. I love that.
And I want to go back to, Josie, you said I should get a dog and walk the dog. I have a cat. We did try to walk it. It doesn't work. And also, it turns out, I told a friend that I was doing that, and he actually lives like 6 houses down. I knew him before I moved. And he's like, oh, there's already a guy that walks his cat in our neighborhood. And he looks just like you, so I thought it was you. I'm like, oh, that's weird. What if we saw each other out in the world walking our cats together? That'd be weird. And do I want to be associated with a fellow cat walker? Is that the kind of friend I want to have?
Yeah.
A person who walks a cat?
Well, I kind of hope y'all see each other one day and see what kind of rip in the space-time continuum that would make. Oh, I love that.
And so, Molly, I have a quick question for you. You do the stand-up thing, but let me ask you this: what's the holdup?
Hey!
Yeah.
So the holdup. Thanks. So I've been a podcaster for several years, so this is like the newest thing that I'm working on. The holdup is a podcast I started with my best friend, the one who lives next door, my best friend Sam DeSalvo, and it's where we review things. We revisit media that we used to like as children or as teens and see if it holds up. And turns out not a very original idea. There are several podcasts on Apple Podcasts with that same name and premise, but I will say we're the only 2 women-led one. So they're all dudes, but us. And it's been such a blast. We started remotely, and then what was kind of wild is sort of over the course of making it, we started this summer, like, went through ginormous personal changes this summer. I mean, she got married, her mom passed away, I got out of a long-term relationship, I moved here, like, we were in a national pandemic, so we went through all this weird, bad turmoil. But the thing that we kept coming back to is being like, I can't wait until we talk about Space Jam. That's going to be great. So we're still in our like freshman season. But we've covered Britney Spears' first album. We've covered the Santa Claus, the movie.
Oh boy.
We've eaten Pop-Tarts again for the first time in years. I made her eat Kid Cuisine TV dinners. And it's just been so fun. And it's fun. It's fun because I think we both have like a healthy appreciation and like deep memory for our childhood. And we're both still kind of obsessed with the same things that we were obsessed with then. And we both, we love each other. So like we have like really good friend chemistry, but also it's been so fun just to have an excuse to be like, okay, Thursday night, we'll talk about Britney Spears for an hour. And then afterwards, we're just going to drink a bunch of beer. Will we choreograph a dance to a Taylor Swift song? Maybe. Who knows? It's been like the biggest joy of my quarantine is moving closer to my friend Sam, and B, doing this podcast with her. So yeah, the hold up succinctly is 2 best friends, best friending all over your favorite media, basically.
Okay, so what I need to know then, are there like album cuts on Britney Spears' first album where you're like, holy shit, why do people not know about?
Yes! Yes! Thank you. Oh. Yes, there are. I think so. I have to look up what it's called. There's a song that's like the last song on the album that is so fun. And it's a Cher cover, or it's a Sonny Bono cover, and it's so good. Yeah, sorry. Let me look it up because it's very good. And I also there's a song on that album called Soda Pop that makes no sense, but it's the most fun, crazy pop song ever. Okay, so this song is she does The Beat Goes On is a Sonny Bono cover, and it ends her album, and it's so fun. It's such a fun song, and it used to be, if you had the CD, you could put it in your DVD player, and it would play the music videos
the
in certain
enhanced
versions.
CD. Oh yeah,
and that was And The Beat Goes On was like the menu music. So my friend said this song got drilled into her head just because she'd fall asleep listening to Britney Spears and then this song would be playing. So yeah, thank you so much for asking. What a great question. But yeah.
Genuinely curious.
Yeah, The Beat Goes On.
And just so you know, in high school, I did definitely join a lip sync battle, and me and my friend Dan Folkers did create a dance for You Drive Me Crazy where we acted out the lyrics. We spent a lot of time on it.
Yes!
And it was great.
Yes! So, I love that. I think I'm discovering via my friend something that I had forgotten that I knew in elementary school, but like dancing with your friend seriously, but also silly is the most fun thing ever.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. And we'll just like her poor husband, because she has a husband and I am a single lady, but we'll be over at her house drinking and all of a sudden we'll be like, no, we got to get this choreography out. Jake, watch us. Jake, watch us. Watch us do this. And I'll do this. And then she'll do that. And hey, Jake, are you watching? Because we got to go.
This is a show. It's for free.
The biggest joy. This is Jake. You're getting to see us before regionals, and that's something that not a lot of people get to see.
Yeah.
And has Kid Cuisine updated their branding at all, or is it still like the little penguin? I think there was a penguin. I remember there being a penguin involved.
Great memory, Josie. Yeah, it is a penguin, and his name is KC for Kid Cuisine. So yeah, but if you want to find out if it holds up or not, you'll have to listen to the Hold Up, available on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah. Always be promoting. That's
exactly.
I love nostalgia. It's like this little warm blanket that you get to hang out in. I love watching things that I used to love and be like, oh, this is truly atrocious. There's a special joy in it. Or like sharing something that you loved as a kid with somebody, even though you haven't seen it in 20 years, and seeing how they react while you're also having the same experience, like in a different way.
That's really risky though, right? Like, like I didn't see the Goonies growing up.
Me neither.
There's so many people like that.
The Goonies, and so I had a friend. Oh my god, you have to watch the Goonies. You gotta sit down, and we're watching. And I'm legit like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what is happening here? Why am I supposed to be enjoying this? None of this is at all enjoyable.
Oh, that's funny. I had the opposite reaction.
Really?
I had the reaction like I felt like a small child because I was like, this is so fun. But I've definitely watched people's favorite movies before and been like, you live like this? This sucks. So I commiserate with you.
I felt like that watching E.T. for the first time. I was like, okay, no,
sucks.
I get it. Like, this absolutely deserved to be a phenomenon. Like, the story is fantastic. I was in.
Yeah.
Just Goonies, I don't know, just grabbed me.
They both are terrifying films.
Yeah, E.T. is horrifying. Yeah, I haven't revisited because I was so scared.
I remember being terrified of that Ma in Goonies. The mom that was like of the criminals was the most terrifying character I'd ever experienced when I was a kid. I was like, this is terrible. It was a scary movie to me. I don't know.
But I think you have to be a kid for that.
Yeah,
to be terrifying,
what?
Though. Like, as an adult, you're just like, that's a old lady.
Yeah, very true.
Why is that scary?
So we asked earlier, what's Gabby short for? Do you guys know what ET is short for?
The extraterrestrial.
No.
Well, he's got really small legs. He's short.
The answer. That's clearly not the answer.
He's short because he's got really tall legs.
No,
small legs.
No.
What's ET short for? He's got really small legs. Yeah, Josie likes it. The audience is cracking up. You can't see right now. They have crashed their cars because they're laughing so hard at me.
5 deaths as a result of this podcast.
And you know what? Sorry to those 5 people who died, but also that was their time to go. And they were like, you know what? I kind of wish I had gone to a bar before this. No.
If only I were drunk as I crashed my car laughing to this podcast. Why am I not drunk?
Exactly. It's sad times we're living.
It's a horrible time for DUI.
Ugh.
Yeah, and you have to really
That's something about me is I'm learning to drive now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes. So that's
in
the
Los
thing.
Angeles,
I
the
failed
worst
my
place.
driving. Yes. Well, I grew up in Southern California and I failed my driving test the weekend before I moved to San Francisco. And then I lived in San Francisco for 10 years and didn't need a driver's license. But now that I'm here, I need one. So I enrolled in driving lessons and I do it once a week. And I hope to get my license in February, but I'm doing something that most teenagers have already done. And I'm an almost 30-year-old woman.
Yeah.
And I'm starting again. So.
But at least it's the right time to do it, right? Like, you don't have to go and take a class with a bunch of teenagers. You can just do it at home in the safety of your own living room.
There's less people on the road.
More than that, I go in a car. Yeah, I go in a car with a man named Steve in a student driver car every Saturday until the end of January. And it's wild, but it's also, I feel so much better about it now that I'm not learning with my dad in the car, I guess. But,
I remember when I learned to drive and did the driving school back, whatever many years ago, there was a driving instructor that you wanted to get. She was the cool one. And she, cause the cars all have the separate brakes, whatever. So she was notorious for two things. She never shaved her legs, and she was wearing skirts. So you just had these hairy legs sticking out, but old ladies.
Yes, queen.
Right? It's not yes. Sasquatch. It was just I don't care anymore.
Shut up.
She would just have you do her errands. I legit drove her to the craft store, Michael's, and sat in the parking lot while she went in and got her crafting supplies, came back out, and it was all the things I needed to know, driving in a parking lot, pulling in places, blah blah blah. But she also got her shit done, and it was just it was a symbiotic relationship where you're you know what, she's preparing me, but also I'm helping her out a little bit.
Yeah, that's because
that's iconic.
It's a side hustle. So she's I got to get these things done, but I've got this other stuff that pays my bills. I'll just tie them together. And plus, they're that's behind the wheel time because technically I left you in the car behind the wheel. That counts towards your hours.
It's true. That does count. What if she was also a Uber driver?
Yeah.
She's picking people up in the back while you're driving. Don't worry, I've got the brakes just in case.
Yeah.
That's the best grift yet. You just time it, you Uber while you're teaching kids to drive. So you're clocking your Uber, and at the same time you're filling out your student driver's your hours card. Oh my god, that's
brilliant.
Yeah. Why hasn't no one done that yet?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Probably because of the liability. But I remember my first time driving. I remember somebody saying I lived in North Dakota. There's no danger other than boredom. It's terrible. I don't recommend it. Don't go there. If you are thinking about moving to North Dakota, change your mind immediately. I will die on this hill. Don't go there. But there's only 2-3 cities, and city is we're being very nice with the term city. But I lived near one of them. So the first time I had to drive into that city, and the first stoplight I get to, which is the first stoplight in North Dakota's history, I think. But I get there, and it's me in the student driver car. It's labeled student driver, student driver, student driver. And everywhere around me is semi-trucks. It's a 3-lane road. There's 3 semis ahead of me, 2 to the side, and 3 behind me. I nearly shat my pants. I had no idea what to do because I remember when I was growing up, don't get caught by a semi on the freeway because the wind gust could knock you off the road if you pass it wrong. And that's the thing I was taught over and over again. And I was oh god, it's all semis. Somebody take a picture of this. It's the most terrifying experience of my life. And then I survived and it was fine.
I love those things that you learn as a kid, and you have so little information to bounce it against that you just accept it, right? Your little kid brain doesn't go, well, that would mean there'd be a shit ton of accidents, so that's not how cars are designed. Yeah. Kid brain is just going I guess everyone is constantly in panic of being near a semi because they're just blowing the car off the road. That's just how it goes.
All you need is one time that you got in front of a semi and your car kind of swung to the left a little bit. You're oh shit, it's real.
Well, now I'm nervous. Now I am going to ask my driving teacher tomorrow if that's a real thing. But my version of that is my parents told me that you would go to jail if you turned the light on in the back of the car.
Yep. Very true.
Turns out that's not true. But I can see now why that would make it hard to see out the windshield, I guess.
It's not ideal.
If it's light.
You want to drive around with your light on, just for fun.
Right.
But it's also I don't think cops are rolling around oh. I mean, I guess it makes it easier to see if there's a dark person inside. But at the same time, I don't.
And we're Hispanic, so you never know. Maybe they were worried about that, but Yeah, that is weird to
Yeah,
learn that.
it probably was. It's like they'll be able to identify you, and that's bad.
Definitely don't think that was the
turn your
reason. I think
light
it was
off.
like,
Don't give them one more thing.
yeah.
My grandpa was full of those. He used to tell me that, like, if I didn't eat my crust, my hair would turn straight.
Oh no.
That was, like, a big concern of mine as a child, I guess. I don't know.
Aww.
And, like, he kind of turned me into that sort of adult. Like, I tell kids all the time, oh my god, no,
Oh,
the
gosh.
worst. I should have been fired for this. I was working at a summer camp, and it was a day camp, so these kids are just, like, they're around all the time, and it's hot, and I'm tired, and I'm annoyed. And they're, like, eating lunch, and they constantly want to get up and run around. And this kid gets up, and I go get back on that bench. And he goes, like, oh, yeah? Well, like, what'll happen? I'm like, if you don't sit your butt down, you're going to get syphilis. And I don't know why I said it.
Josie Becker, you did not tell that to a child at summer camp.
I did, and he was just like, oh, that sounds bad. I better sit down.
God.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
Oh my lord.
It was a wild summer. It was up in, so I 5-6 years, I went to school up there and then stayed up there for a little bit afterward. And so I was working at a summer camp, in Villa, like up in Santa Cruz Mountains. Yeah, I remember it was like a working ranch, cows and horses and stuff. And there was this trick, a chicken, used lightly, but if you turn it upside down, they play dead. They spread their wings, like,
Oh no.
and it's just an instinct thing for when a predator grabs them. And the kids loved it. They're like, hey, look at the chicken that did the thing. And it was, it was a good way to kill 5 minutes, right? Having them, like, run, chase a chicken, and then pick it up. So, I'm running, I'm picking the chicken, I pick it up, I turn it upside down, and it won't play dead. It's like flapping its wings. And it sounds very, very similar to ouch, ouch, ouch. And I heard it. My kids heard it, and my other counselors heard it. Like, afterward, I'm like, did you hear that? And I'm like, yeah, no, I absolutely heard it say ouch. And these kids walked away, and I heard one of them say, I had no idea chickens could talk. And I swear to God, there's some kid out there in Santa Cruz to this day that is just under the impression that chickens have the ability to talk if you turn them upside down.
That little kid came back to his school and was like, I've seen a lot of stuff this summer. I saw a friend of mine get syphilis just standing up. I saw a chicken talk with a human voice. Don't talk to me about anything in 3rd grade, man. I've seen some shit at summer camp.
Not only did you see a chicken get turned upside down, my whole world got turned upside down. It's awful.
Absolutely. Is there anything cool coming up for Common Space? You got any new beers that you're coming out with? New stuff?
We have a black IPA.
Woof!
Bold.
Get Me Not or something like that. I don't know. That we're hitting that trend. Triple Dragon. So we did a Belgian triple.
Oh.
And we call it Triple Dragon, Tripel Dragon, and it's got this really awesome can art of we're tripping off a double dragon, so it's got like a kind of like funky looking.
Oh, gee, I didn't even make that connection.
Yeah, buddy. See, if you're gonna spill IP, be clever about it, and then people won't notice. They're just like, "Oh, wow, 3 dragons. That's a fun number of dragons."
Yeah.
Does the black IPA have a name yet?
Forget Me Not is the black.
Oh,
IPA.
darn it! Because I was gonna pitch like Black IPA, Fergie's Revenge, or something having to do with the band, the Black Eyed Peas. But that's fine.
I mean, we have to workshop that to get a little shorter. But yeah.
Okay.
I love rye IPAs, and I always try to pitch somebody that they should call their rye IPA just call it Kelly. For Kelly Ripa, you're welcome. I'm very talented.
Kelly Ripe. Kelly Ripe.
Yeah.
That's really dumb.
Yeah, it is.
Our black IPA is also a rye IPA. There's rye in the black IPA.
Oh,
now,
sure.
what makes it black is the color is not black, right? Or it is?
The color is black. So the other name for a black IPA is
Cascadian
Dark Ale.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's just you put a bunch of dark malt into your IPA, and so it still has like the hoppiness of the IPA, but like with this really roasty, malty flavor of like a stout. It's fun.
Oof, that sounds delicious.
I love them.
Yum.
Yeah, if you're doing it through some pine needles.
Yum.
We got the beer for you.
Sign me up. I love that. Oh man.
Yeah, I love them.
Let me ask you, for home beer consumption, are any of y'all into shower beers at all?
I personally have not jumped on the shower beer trend. I am definitely a walking around with a can person. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
You tell me to go, grill something, or like, hey, go mow the lawn. Like, I'm mowing the lawn, I'm drinking a beer while I'm doing it. But I don't know, the shower just feels like a line that I'm not ready to cross. Like, I don't know. It's definitely new friend to this.
I'm not a big shower beer person. I'm like, hey, you earned a beer after a hard day's work of like doing lawn work or like exercising, but like just a general like, oh, it's fucking Thursday, gonna get in the shower with a beer. Not my thing. But I'm not taking pictures like, check out my pecs and this beer I got. I'm not doing that either. Nobody needs to see what's going on under the shirt.
Are people gramming themselves in the shower with the shower beer?
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I've checked on this hashtag, but back in the day I was like big on like watching the shower beer hashtag. Because I will say I'm a proponent of a shower beer. So much so I used to have like a holder. Yeah. I used to have a holder in the shower and bottle opener in my shower. I don't have it at my new place, but it's a luxurious, lovely thing. Yeah. It's so nice because the beer is cold, the shower is hot. It gives you kind of excuse to like sit in there a long time and think. It can be a sexy 2-person shower thing. It's a very fun thing, but you're right. There would be people on the shower beer hashtag that'd be like, oh, I have a shower beer. And that's a man's voice. That's actually a man's voice I'm imitating because it would usually be men. Yeah. But it is just like, I think it's like a really luxurious, it's like, you take a glass of wine in the bathtub if you're being a little saucy. I think it's fun to take a shower in the beer. I'm for it. Josie, I think you would like it.
I mean, I can get behind a bath beer. I'm all, that sounds
I don't love that.
I'm gonna do some bubbles, like a can of beer, fucking sipping on this shit, my legs at the same time, that going. Like, I'm multitasking, right? Shower beer, you gotta focus. Like, that's like, I don't want to drop it. What if there's glass everywhere now? I feel the whole thing.
You're supposed to bring a can in. Come on.
It is usually a can. I don't love a bath beer because I feel like beer makes me feel like bloaty. And if I'm in the bath and I have like suddenly a big pregnancy beer belly, I don't love that for me. Love my body, love everything about it, whatever. But I don't love lying down and drinking beer, I guess. But I love a shower beer. I love an erect, like standing up beer, I guess. Mm.
Oh, beer and erection.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do not go together.
Yeah.
Just gonna tell you.
Yeah. I can't do shower beers too much because I'm Josie, you're a walk around with a can gal. I'm a very much a let me whip this around and sniff it, carry a glass person, which you can't do in a shower.
That's lovely.
You shouldn't. I've done it and it's terrifying.
No.
And I'm like, this wasn't worth it. This wasn't worth it. But you give me a nice 12-ounce can, which is going by the wayside. Now you got to drink 16 ounces. You got to stay in there 33% longer to finish your beer. It's a whole thing. But anyway, shower beers are generally nice if you do it right.
Saying this as a person who only packages in 16-ounce cans, I wish everything were in 12-ounce cans. 12 ounces.
That's interesting.
That's the way to go. You give me this 16-ounce can, and look, again, I understand that I sell 16-ounce cans. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It fills a glass nicely, and I understand all the reasons for the why you do it. But, it's like a nice 12-ouncer. It's just like the perfect amount of beer. You get in, you get out, you're not sitting there. And especially, like, I like a good head on my beer. If I'm gonna pour it into a glass, I want like an inch ahead. Mm-hmm. And then I do the 15-ounce can, I pour it, and I got like another like 3 ounces sitting in the can.
That's interesting.
Just hanging out.
Fit in the glass when you pour it properly. Now it's just hanging out. It's getting warm.
Yeah.
Later, of course.
Oh,
but like,
interesting.
I would rather do it all in one pour. It's just it brings up issues.
Yeah. I'm going to be here for a while because I'm at about 11 ounces. Now I've got 5 ounces to go. And I'm like, it's a bit more of a slog than you would think.
It's a beautiful glass, by the way.
Thank you.
It is very pretty glass.
It's a local beer Facebook group. So, just repping local or whatever.
Have y'all ever tried those IPA glasses?
The one with like the little ripples at the bottom and then it kind of comes out? Yeah. That's one of my favorite glasses to drink out of. I have some Dogfish Head ones.
Oh, I love Dogfish Head. I could do a whole podcast about how much I love Dogfish Head.
I mean, they're a fantastic brewery. Although, I mean, that's when I think about Dogfish Head, like I think about Sam Adams, and I think about bought by Sam Adams, and then being like less than 1% of their portfolio, and so essentially being ignored, which is not fun. But like, I don't know, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. And my preferred IPA glass is actually the one that Sam Adams designed like a decade ago.
Oh,
I have a few of those. And I'm like, yeah, I like this. This is nice. And I get made fun of for like having a Sam Adams glass. I'm like, this is one of the best glasses you can drink an IPA out of. And they don't even make good IPAs. Like, just it's really good for them.
What does it look like? It's like a rounded, almost like a wine glass?
Dogfish Head one, if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's similar to the Dogfish Head one, but instead of the ripples at the bottom, it's kind of straight, and it still does that like curve thing.
Oh, I love that.
It's got the nucleation points carved at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
My dad ran grocery stores, still runs grocery stores, and so he would always bring home like promotional glassware like that. So all of our cupboard growing up was like freaking whiskey glasses, Sam Adams shit. And, my dad like is not cool, but like we had those Sam Adams glasses when they first released, and I didn't know how cool they were then, but looking back, I'm just like, oh, holy shit, like, that's so awesome. Yeah, those are glass. And I know what nucleation points are now, and I look for that in glassware.
What is that?
So this glass is from Samuel Smith.
Oh, yeah. I have that one.
They do a nut brown ale. If you ever see a glass where at the bottom there's, like, a design etched into the bottom, that design is actually little tiny bumps that help. Oh yeah, we have our rings on the bottom.
Oh my gosh!
They help agitate the beer and make bubbles appear. So like when you pour a beer in that glass, you actually see like a column of bubbles from those points.
That's amazing!
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Oh, you taught me something cool today. That's really interesting. What it's called a nucleation point?
Nucleation point.
My god.
And that's like, if you ever pour beer in a glass and the glass is dirty, you'll see like bubbles kind of cling to the edge. And that's just, when you have points in the glass for the beer to bounce off of, it breaks bubbles out, breaks carbon dioxide out of suspension. So you'll get bubbles everywhere. Sorry, that was my nerdy thing of the day.
No, I love that.
Yeah. It's great.
Thank you for teaching me that. That's wonderful.
If we can learn one thing on the episode, it's a win. And if we learn nothing, it's a win. So it's great.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Molly, not only do you do stand-up comedy, not only do you host podcasts, but fun fact, you actually work in the beverage industry for adults.
I'll couch everything I say with I'm very grateful to have a job during the pandemic. They're very nice to me. They send me boxes of wine, which is lovely. It's a day job. It's whatever. But I do get a lot of kicks trying to see how many things I can slip into wine copy without anybody noticing it. Because I write their daily emails and they have basically 2 brands that I write an email for every day of the week. And so I try to see what I can get through. So we had one wine with a horse on a label, and somehow I got through writing, "This is the perfect wine for the horse girl in your life." And nobody checked it. Nobody said anything about it. And then just today, I used some lines from a song in Aladdin to describe a wine. And it just made me laugh because I don't think anybody knew it. But it was like, shining, shimmering, splendid. This Sauvignon Blanc is. So it's like, I write so much dumb wine copy every day, and I get very bored. And I have to entertain myself somehow. And that is how I do it. So, yeah. By day, I write about wine. By night, I drink beer and martinis and wine. And I would much rather be working a comedy job.
Yeah. I remember a couple years ago, the comedy spot in Sacramento had Kyle Kinane do it a weekend. It was very cool. And I was like, I want to meet Kyle Kinane. He's a great comic. I love him so much. And like, I'm good with the club, so we'll hang out after the show, and I'll probably meet Kyle Kinane in person. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to be that weird guy. So I like just hung out in the corner. I'm like, just let it be natural, man. Just let it be natural. And so I ended up in a conversation with another comedian. By the way, never talked to Kyle Kinane on this occasion. Didn't talk to him. Didn't say a word. Played it cool. Oh. Good job, me. But I ended up in a conversation with another comic who's like, oh, on the side, I write copy for this like dental magazine for dental professionals. Yes! And so instead of talking to Kyle Kinane, I tweeted out 37 dental puns instead.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, killing it. This was a useful night.
I love it because I have this like ego thing, which is like, I'd always like to be able to say confidently that my profession is being a writer. And it truly has been for like the past, 6 or 7 years in some way, shape, or form. For a tiny, tiny bit, I was writing for a beer blog, then I was writing for a local blog, and then I started copywriting and then comedy writing as well. So that plays into it. I always want to be some kind of a writer. But I'm really interested in like super specific writers. Like the other day I was at a bookstore when it was okay to go to bookstores. And I saw there was a magazine called Ice Age magazine.
Okay.
And it was about the movie Age, the movie franchise Ice Age.
No.
I'm going to couch this story. I was reminded of this. This is actually a story of like 3 or 4 years ago.
Typical comedy thing. I was in the store the other day.
Yes, I know. I realized that as I told it. So I'm a big fat liar, but I promise you there was a thing that I saw called Ice Age magazine. And I always imagined like the person whose mom, it is absurd, but like somebody's mom paid for journalism school for them to write very earnestly in Ice Age magazine. And honestly, I want every writer to get paid to write always. Cause I think God bless. And we should be paying artists to do what they want to do. But there are only like 10 cool writing jobs and the rest of us have to write fucking Aladdin lyrics and wine copy and Ice Age magazine. So, get that bread.
You know what's crazy?
Get that bread,
Ice
writers.
Age magazine is weekly. That's like the really intense part of it.
There's enough Ice Age news. Giant demand. This one goes out to all the writers who are working crazy jobs. Because think about how much we read just out in the world. Somebody has to write that. I mean, I was even looking at the copy on this beer can and thinking, wow, I'd love to have that job. So, anything written has to be, somebody had to write it. So
yeah. No, I mean, it's a super solid point. Most of our can stories are written by our head brewer, our like director of beer operations, and he sits down and cranks it out real fast. But I mean, like our advertising human could have done this, or like there's a lot of ways you can go about, and even just like I don't know, the design of each can itself, right? Like there's a lot of language and the way you want to communicate those things and what you want to put on the can, what you don't want to put on the can.
Yeah, and if you're ever hiring, I have a steep resume.
I just want to circle back. I'm sorry, real fast.
Please.
You brought up Horse Girl.
Yes.
And I just, for my own edification.
Yes.
Is there an implication to saying the phrase horse girl beyond girl who likes horses? Is there some sort of connotation?
I will say yes.
Okay.
I think the horse girl is a girl who very early and was super earnestly into it.
Sure.
And I think there are a lot of other girls. Like I personally identify as like a theater girl or like a mermaid girl or like there are facets of weird girldom And horse girl is a facet of weirdo girldom. And it's like one of the more socially acceptable facets. But it's like a really intense little girl who's really into horses. And a lot of times those horse girls grow up into women who are like really intense and interested in their field too, which is, I think, a good thing. I think like it ultimately horse girls who run the world, horse girls, like honestly, at the end of the day. Unfortunately, Ivanka Trump was probably also a horse girl, but we don't have to talk about that. They have to use their power for good is the thing, because a horse girl belies a certain amount of intensity, I would say.
Because I would say, like, growing up, I had horse girl friends.
Potentially, because there are aspiring horse girls who never own horses, but just love the lore of horses. Like, they love, like, the Misty of the Chincoteagues. They love the, like, Saddleback Pals or whatever. They love My Little Pony. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean privilege. It just means hyper-specific interest.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I grew up with horse girls.
Yeah, I bet.
They were legit horse girls. I eventually had horse teenagers that, like, legit, like, owned horses and, like, had acres in their backyard, and they did equestrian events.
Wow.
And, like, they were in it. They were doing the horse thing.
Yeah.
I've seen that now, like, graduate into, like, horse women. There's, like, a whole, like, you know, the girl has, like, grown up into it. And I just wanted to be clear. So that I didn't go around and, like, misuse the term. That there wasn't some, like, further evolution. It's not like the Pokemon where you're, like, first you have...
No.
Then you ride the horses, then you become a furry, right? Like, I didn't know that.
No, they're centaurs now. They're full-on centaurs. And that's sad for them.
Horse play.
Yeah.
There's dog play, right? Like, that's the thing. I definitely know that there are people that, like to have collars and be dogs.
Right. But you also remember, like, another facet of, like, weird little girldom, I think, is, like, the dog girl, too. I think it's just, like, certain people get fixated on certain animals, and that, like, means a lot about you. Like, the dog girl is not the same as the horse girl. At all. At all, nor is the cat girl anything like the horse girl. The cat girl is closer to the horse girl than the dog girl is, but like there are so many facets of craggy, weird, little kiddom, if we're gonna paint with a broad brush, but little girldom especially, yeah.
There's also like there's something to being a child and just having a fuckload of time, right? Like there's nothing you're required to do.
Sure.
You're at school, whatever book you want to read, whatever thing can keep you occupied. So I feel like when you find your obsession, and let's be clear, it's an obsession as a child, like, there are children who could name every dinosaur. Yeah. And that's not something that's going to, like, continue into adulthood. That's not, like, a life skill that you're gaining as a child. Memorization and, like, figuring out all that stuff. But yeah, like, the dog girl knows every dog breed and knows how big they are and, like, and what their weight should be for that dog.
Yeah. Always wants to be the dog if you play a game. It's brilliant. And it goes into, like, I mean, there's so many brands of tiny children, and I don't know if any of these brands exist anymore, but there's like the Greek mythology kid. I dabbled in that. There's like the Egypt kid. There's a Titanic kid, you know, like they have nothing to do. So they fixate on like one thing, and that's their thing. Yeah, girl. Okay, baby. Let me see. Oh, girl, you got an Artemis tattoo?
I have an Artemis tattoo.
Okay. Okay, child. Yes. We love to see it. So you're a Greek mythology girl. That's what happened.
Mythology kid. That was my entire thing.
Yes, we love this. Ben, what kind of kid were you? Tell us exactly now.
God. You know, I used to write a lot of fan fiction for Cerberus. I was a big Cerberus fan fiction guy. The idea of a three-headed dog that controls the gates to hell.
Does this mean something other than what I think it means?
Nope. Oh! I just loved the idea of this three-headed dog that like controlled the gates to hell. I'm like, I love this. But mostly... as a math nerd, baseball statistics. I knew everybody's everything, and I could not tell you anything anymore. But like as a kid, I'm like, oh, you know, this guy batted .313 last year, up from .276 the year before. Pretty impressive jump. And it's like, so Jesus Christ, I had to have been insufferable as a child.
I love this.
I would like sit there. I wake up in the morning.
That's the point. Kids are insufferable.
Yeah, I was like 8. I'm like, yeah, it's the morning. I'll grab my newspaper, my sports page, my cup of coffee, black, thank you. And like, what am I doing?
Oh my God, geez,
why am I this
you little
old
40-year-old.
man?
The kids are insufferable because they haven't learned shame yet. And there's something beautiful and fun about that. It's like, it's honestly, it's who would you be if you let your passion dictate every element of your life, but you're only exposed to like a corner of the world.
Right.
And that's what you had to choose from. There's something gorgeous in that insufferability because it's like, what would you love if you didn't feel self-conscious about it?
Yeah. And if money played no part in how you lived your life.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, once you start getting nieces and nephews, and they come up to you and you're like, "Oh my God, Peppa Pig just did this thing, and she like is now in timeout," and you're like, "No one cares."
You're like, "Sit down, or you'll get syphilis."
That's how you deal with syphilis. You gotta let them know that there's syphilis is everywhere.
Rampant.
But yeah, like kids, their worlds are their worlds, right? Like they have no frame of reference for what actually care about.
I always wonder, would that be a perfect world where people maintain that childlike innocence and like passion, or would it be like the worst version of when we are, when everybody's just like focused on one thing forever? I'm like, I kind of like the idea of people being like pursuing their passions and like dedicating their lives to something they believe in, but also like you said, Molly, they're not exposed to a lot of stuff, so you'd have a bunch of people like, we're all paleontologists.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been cornered at the party by that one person who only has one thing they want to talk about, and they're just gonna like go on and on about like Weezer '94 and how it was the best concert ever, and how like, oh my God, have you not heard that?
You met my ex? He's a lovely man, but he's got the one thing. Yeah, I agree with you. I like the sense of awareness of other people's time and other people's interest levels. I think that helps keep us nice to each other. But I think that's why, like, we all tend to hang out with creative people, is because they are tapped into that clean burning sense of like, I really like this. I mean, just even look at the three of us, it's three people who would love to like talk to basically strangers about beer and silliness like all night. Like, who are we if not those kids grown up, like I think we gravitate towards those certain types of people like us gravitate towards those people who remain in touch with that sense of like, I really want to tell you about the nucleation point. This is so interesting. You have to know about this. And me, completely receptive, like, yeah, tell me, let's do it,
You're like, your little kid, bubbles, there's bubbles,
yeah,
okay.
But those are the only kind of people I'm interested in knowing, I think. And I think that's why sometimes having a day job bothers me so much, is because I feel like it's bereft of people like that, or it doesn't give me a chance to get to know people's interest in that way. But on the surface, it feels like, it's just a bunch of people who like really care about this thing I don't care about. I don't get it.
That's also like theater kid energy, though, right? Like
that's me, yeah.
100% are like, I just want to put this on for like a day and see what this person is like, or like, I'm really interested in this thing. And when I was, you're barking at nothing. So anyway.
Well, that nothing's not going to be there long, huh?
Yeah, I just, I, in my brief time doing theater love, just like, getting really obsessed with the character for a little bit and then just throwing it aside and never thinking about it ever again.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think, because like in theater, you have like a creative engine and you're allowed to like shift gears with it, which I didn't get too into theater. No big deal. My first time I ever went out for a play, I got the second male lead. It's fine. Everything's good.
Wow.
There were only two male parts.
Wow.
There were only two male parts, and I was again in North Dakota, so it's not like there was a huge rush. My high school class was 32 people, so it's not.
King, I want you to stand in your success. That is a good thing.
And then I would challenge my director constantly because it was a bad director, and I'll stand by that also. But anyway, they completely rewrote the play to placate the female lead who didn't want to have a fake kissing scene, and so they changed the entirety of the main character's motivation to get around that, and it was just a train wreck. And I'm like, well, we need an explanation as to why.
What play was this?
Oh God, this my school was like, what's the freest scripts you can get that will never ever come under fire for copyright? I don't even remember what it was called, but it was like one of those like greaser 60s things, but like teenage love. But it's like, oh, this bad boy doesn't want to kiss the girl, and I'm like, there needs to be, you can't just not want to. So we need to explain why this motivation changed. And what
if it was West Side Story and she's changing it? She's like, actually, no, we don't kiss. Like, well, why did you die?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I was playing the dad of the girl, And so I was like, this is a bad role for me. I grew up with a single parent, my mom. I don't know what dads are like. So great. But I did see this movie where they had a really funny way of implementing a dad in that he was always like behind something and he would just like not be attentive and he would just like mumble something from behind a newspaper, like under the sink or like through the bathroom door. And so I was like, what if we put me as a memory of him, like, he comes up to me, he's like introduced to me as like, I'm courting your daughter, and I like cock a shotgun at him. What if we do that? And then it's like, that's why he's not trying to kiss this girl. Anyway, they didn't like that, even though I thought it was hilarious. But that's why I played the dad also, was very detached.
Hilarious. Good job.
Anyway, plays are dumb. I mean, that's not true. Plays are great. I love them so much.
Plays are great.
Yeah.
Maybe plays in North Dakota are dumb. I
don't know why I'm telling the story. The point is...
I know. I read the reviews.
The point is, acting is great, and it's fun to get lost in a character and then return back to... Like, sometimes you get so lost in it that you're not even in it, That's how deep in you go. You're not even that. But yeah, we should all explore the things that we... Our ideal versions of ourselves. That's what I was getting at. It's fun to do the things you love. And out of the three of us, I think that's Josie, who has made a career of things that they actively enjoy.
Yeah. Good for you.
It's worked out for me.
That's amazing. Jealous.
Sorry, Gabby's getting a little impatient.
Oh, Gabriela.
I know all about this. Time to wrap it up. I take the hint. Dogs need attention. They love it so much.
Yes.
Gabby misses you. So, before we get out of here, let's find out where people can find you. Where can people learn more about you and the things that you do? We'll start with you, Molly. Where can people find Molly Sanchez and the podcast?
Okay, well, you can find me on Twitter at Serious Molly. That's SeriusMolly. That's my Twitter handle. My podcast is on Apple Podcasts, and it's the Hold Up Podcast. And like I said, there are other podcasts with that name, but ours is the only one with a Mead notebook logo. And we're on Instagram at the Hold Up Pod, and we're also on Twitter at the Hold Up Podcast. And those are the several ways that you can find me. Please talk to me. I am lonely and fun.
Speaking of lonely and fun, what else are you up to besides those things that people might want to check out? Are you doing any Zoom shows? What do you got going on?
Gosh, I don't have anything on the horizon. But I also co-host another podcast called Comics Book Club. That's on Twitter at Comics Book Club, and it's also in the Apple Podcast Store under Comics Book Club. Oh, gosh, I'm like one of those cool tweens, and I'm on TikTok. And my TikTok is Molly-Sanchez. And I have so much fun on that platform. If only because I allow myself to make extremely bad TikToks and just have fun with it. So if you're looking for that, please follow me on TikTok as well. That's all the things I have to plug.
And Josie Becker in Common Space, where can people find out what's going on over there and how to get beer shipped right to their homes?
Woo!
Yeah, so commonspace.la is the website. If you are in the greater LA area, there are certain days for Osley, Riverside, the Valley. You can have beer delivered to your door next day, which is very exciting. I know we were able to get Mal some beers in her hand.
Thank you so much. That was such a treat.
My pleasure. So yeah, that's fun. We deliver cans. We got crowlers for the things that are on draft. We also ship anywhere in California. So if you are in Sacramento, if you're in San Francisco, if you're in Eureka, I'll just keep naming cities. No, I'm done. We can ship it to you next day, which is very exciting. I have many college friends who have ordered my beer and let me know about it. And you can find me on the Instagram. My handle is Hoppy Josie. It's my same handle on Twitter. Instagram for pictures of Gabby, and Twitter for me being very angry about the world.
And food.
And some fun. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. That's me in a nutshell. No, wait, this is me in a nutshell. Help, I'm in a nutshell.
Help!
Oh, no.
Yes, I enjoyed it. Yes. Oh no, I just got this. 5 more cars just crashed because they were laughing at that joke. Oh no. So far, a total of 10 cars, a total of 10 years off the collective lives of the people on this podcast. Was it worth it? Only time will tell. Make sure you leave that review for this podcast in Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Oh my
Ben,
God.
back to you.
Thank
You're
you
still
so
alive.
much,
Rate,
Molly.
review, and subscribe.
And if you're dead, have your family members write a review saying this was the last thing they listened to before they
Yeah, please.
drove their car that got whisked over by a semi.
Yeah. And please include it in their obituary. I know it's a little bit tight in there. You got to pay per letter, but it was worth it.
It is worth it. Barley and me.
Yes.
Not barely in me.
Yeah,
Barley
please.
and me.
I probably should tell people how to spell barley when I do this because people don't. That's a good point. Yes, so if you can find Barley and Me across social media at Barley and Me Pod, email questions, comments, concerns, guest ideas, brewery ideas to barleyandmepodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out my new offshoot podcast. It's basketball and it's beer. It's called Please Dunk Responsibly. Check that out at Please Dunk Pod on Twitter, PLZ Dunk Pod on Twitter. And don't forget to check out my Trucks for Charity. If you can afford to give money to people, please do it. It's a great thing. Hundreds, thousands, I think at this point, thousands of dollars raised through the quarantine. So fucking killing it. And yeah, I guess if you wanted to review this podcast, you could do that. This is a lot of talking. The point is, this has been episode 138 of Barley and Me with Molly Sanchez. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a blast and a half.
Oh, thank you. And also Josie Becker from Common Space Brewing in Los Angeles. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Gabby says hi as well.
Thank you for listening. Stay home safe.